Good evening, everyone. Back again. Another big match preview on away days. Come on.
I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713, could've 21 down riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low key. I'm sipping low key and flying, I get those goosebumps every time. I'm around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the Heimlich, throw that.
Here we go. Back again. Welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC away days. The big match preview is back. It's Thursday, and Newcastle United are ready to play Bournemouth at St. James's Park on Saturday. So we're going to get into it all. Welcome everyone to the channel, and of course I've got the main man with me over here, Mr. Brandon Blaze in the house, as we do. Mr. Chris Hall, how you doing, fella? You all good?
Oh, good, mate. Yeah. I'm off today and off tomorrow. So yeah, I went to the pictures with our sons to go and watch. What was it called? Oh, well, it was a new Pixar film anyway.
Was it
Migration.
Duck?
Yeah, Migration. That's it.
I did catch the VN. VN, but wasn't able to reply. But good stuff.
Oh, good. It was a nice little family day out. So that was good. And yeah, so yeah, it's been a nice chill day. Played footy before, so yeah, I'm in good spirits, mate. And like I said to Morgan, in the green room, that really looking forward to the game this weekend. And I just hope we can build on this positive last 3 games that we've had. 7 points out of 9. So if we can make that 10 points out of 12, I think it was. I think the revenge tour is definitely on. But how are you, Pete? How are you, mate? You all right?
Been a busy one today, mate. Teaching all day, parents' evening, rushed back. But I was never going to miss away days with yourself and Morgan. Always going to be in the house, and everyone else is in the house, and of course, our resident spanner, Lisa, Brandy and Blaze are in the house. We are in the house, and thanks to you, and thanks to everyone in the chat as well. And of course, if you haven't clicked the like and subscribe to the channel, make sure you do. Our resident housekeeping, we always do it at the beginning, and Chris Hall on the button as ever. Thank you for watching the show, supporting the channel, and thank you for being a part of Loaded Mag NUFC. And as well as that, big up to the super chat, Nathan Page. Thank you very much. Big up the lads. Criminally underrated channel. Keep it up. Ashworth. Are we going to get into that tonight? Are we going to get into it tonight?
I think we've got to.
Yeah, we will. Look, let's get into it first and foremost. After we get Morgan in, so we'll keep that on there, Nathan, and we'll come back to that as well. But massive thanks to the likes of Stu, Tom Dixon, our resident spanners, alongside Lisa in the house, Toon Gamer. Great to have you in there as well. Brian Quinn, already got a question in for Morgan. Get your questions in if you haven't already. So many others as well. Jordan Toon for life, of course. Always in repping Loaded Mag NUFC. As well as in Brexit, many I can see in there. Great, so many that when you want keep scrolling. Because the main why we wait, it's because of you. It's a pleasure to come in debut back to AFC Bournemouth podcast. It's Morgan Scott. Welcome, Morgan.
Thank you very much. No, really good to be here. Really enjoyed watching your yourselves do a preview with Tom when we played you on the South Coast last time. So no, thanks for inviting me. Really looking forward to this, and yeah, I'm sure it'll be a good show. So no, thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Pleasure to have you in. That is for sure. And look, we were briefly talking about it. We'll start with this topic. To begin with, because it is a little bit of breaking news, albeit an hour or two ago. And it's the news that I think some Newcastle fans expected, but not all Newcastle fans. And it's the news that Craig Hope reported that Callum Wilson, when we were told earlier on this week, Morgan, that he had a chance of making Bournemouth, and it was a wait and see. Now will undergo surgery on a pectoral tendon and will be missing for between 9 and 12 weeks. Look, Chris, I'm going to come to you first before I come to Morgan, because obviously you will have an affiliation to Wilson, being an ex-Bournemouth player as well. But Chris, what's your reaction to this news? Because for me, it's just like madness.
I feel exactly the same, Pete. And it's difficult because, you know, we all saw how it happened, but there's only so long, isn't it? You can kind of go on and go, oh, it was unlucky. Oh, you know, typical Newcastle. It's just one of those things. I've got to be honest, and we briefly spoke about it the other night, didn't we? You know, about like possibly players moving on in the summer. I think it's time for Wilson to move on. I do. It's sad to say. I really like him. I think you know, when he's on the pitch, he's a fantastic player. There's no doubt about that, and he's a clinical finisher. And you know, he may be a really good signing for someone, but I'm sorry, in this day and age, when you know, really we should have 3 strikers, but the fact that we've only got 2 out and out strikers, you can't have a striker who's just continually pulling up for various different reasons. So for me now, it's just about moving him on. I've got to be honest, because I'm getting to the point now where, you know, I'm getting so frustrated with the fact that, you know, Wilson's back and then Isak's out, and then Isak's back, then Wilson's out, and obviously, you know, with Alexander Isak, he too has been a little bit unlucky with injuries this season. But you know, obviously, time and age is on his side. But I think for Callum Wilson, it's time for us now to start looking, you know, at potentially another striker. Ideally, I'd like 3 strikers going into the new season. I do think we need 3 strikers. Some people will argue that we already have 3 strikers, in that Anthony Gordon can play through the middle. But for me, I think I would rather, you know, someone who is predominantly more a striker. Especially with Alexander Isak's injury record, I think we need 3 strikers. Even if it's a youngster who's, you know, going to be coming through the ranks, just someone, you know, with a lot of potential, who you're not going to rely on week in, week out, but someone who, you know, could potentially have a future at the club. I'm just frustrated, Pete. That's kind of where I am with it. I'm fed up now of talking about injuries. And constantly thinking, you know, hearing bad news about the fact that we're going to be missing players for weeks, months on end. It's just so frustrating. It kind of sums the season up, but yeah, I'm up to here with it now. And as soon as the news broke, I just thought it's just typical, isn't it? It really is. Very, very disappointing.
Yeah, it's I say it's a semi-shock news, Morgan, just because with Newcastle United this season and the amount of injuries we've had, we kind of expect it. It's been a bit of a mad one, I'm not going to lie, with all the injuries this season. But look, from a Bournemouth perspective and from what you know of Callum Wilson, like, you know, what do you make of this injury? And in addition to that, Morgan, like, was injuries a constant theme for Wilson when he was a Bournemouth player? But what do you also make of it with the fact that he's going to miss the game on Saturday? Is that positive for you?
I think you can say the first part of your question. I'll answer that first, and then we'll go on to the second part. I think the first thing is that Callum Wilson he's been a very good Premier League striker for a long period of time. He's had 2 serious knee injuries, ACL, and that has kind of you're going to pick up other injuries along the way. I believe it's a shoulder injury he's got currently now that he's getting operated. Pectoral. Well, you had with Pope and Jacob Murphy. I know he's back now, but that's the third serious shoulder injury you had, so that's a bit of a concern. I get Pope's, but the other 2 maybe not so sure. But we'll go on to that maybe in a bit more detail later. But I think it's a positive, of course, it is that you guys haven't got a natural striker. But I'm not gonna You've got Anthony Gordon. He's mustard. He's absolutely phenomenal. You know, you can't say to me that just because you're missing Isak and Callum Wilson, it's going to be a massive problem. Yes, your bench is going to be a little bit more thin, and maybe that if it gets to that stage, we can probably have a little bit more to offer off our bench. But in all seriousness, I don't think you guys should look into that too much. I think you could cope so well without a lot of player. One person I want to highlight at the moment is Lewis Miley, 17 years of age. He's fantastic. Playing at the Stadia PSG. I can't remember what their ground called off the top of my head. But he in big games, Champions League, Chelsea, Manchester United, Man City. He's looked really great with Bruno. So you guys have got a very good depth of squad. Yes, you have had so much unluck. Yes, sometimes you do look thin, but you have got so much good quality still. I think Bournemouth really need to remember that. And the last thing I'll say to kind of wrap that point up is St. James's Park is intimidating. It's been one of the best crowds I heard on TV this season. And when they're up for it, they're up for it. Anthony Gordon, Bruno Guimaraes pumping the crowd up. It makes it sound intimidating, even better than one of the top 6 clubs. So there's so much, although I can understand where you're coming from in terms of being frustrated, and I would be up to my eyeball with frustration in terms of the lack of depth and the injuries. You've got to remember that St. James's Park is an intimidating place, and they will make it like that for any team.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Lots of comments from people on socials and in the chat tonight with regards to Callum Wilson saying, look, that's it. Like we need to kind of move him on. He needs to go in the summer. What I will say is that for me, we 110% need a new striker. It's as simple as that. Like whether Callum Wilson goes or stays isn't the question. We need another striker. People have said, and Chris, you mentioned about some people think or assume that Gordon's a third striker. For me, he's not. He's not a natural striker. And if we're looking to fight at the top of the table where we want to be, we need a striker that knows the position, that knows how to play that position. Anthony Gordon's a superb left-sided attacking winger that can play right wing. Don't expand his roles too far. Let's kind of hone him and make him the best left wing we can possibly make him. Don't use him as a variety, as a third choice striker. So for me, we need a striker in. Absolutely. And if Callum Wilson, we get a big enough fee for him in the summer, let him go. Look, I'll be gutted to let him go because of what he's given to the club. He came to us when he didn't have to. He turned down Aston Villa to sign for us, which was a big step at that point because we weren't going anywhere under Steve Bruce. And he's been a fantastic striker for us. But as everyone said, and I completely agree, if you can't stay fit, you know, we need to replace. It's as simple as that. So a real shame for him. And I do, you know, have some sympathy for him because the injury, and I was there at Forest away, the injury was, it was just a weird situation. It was just a bit of a tussle. It wasn't like it came from nothing. It was a bit of a tussle and his arm was in a bit of an awkward position. And you could tell straight away. I remember saying to you, Chris, after the game, I think I dropped it in a voice note on the way home, is that I was worried that he dislocated his shoulder because as soon as he did it, he couldn't then lift his arm again. He had it next to his body and then literally put his top in a sling. And when you're doing that, and Chris, I think you put it on your note tonight to Wiz, when you're doing that, and you're absolutely right, Chris, like that rings alarm bells to people. It makes people think that something's not quite right there. And I mentioned on the Saturday night that when the final whistle went, he went straight to ground. The physio came straight onto the pitch. He left the pitch. He didn't clap the fans. He didn't celebrate with the rest of the players. And he wasn't in the picture that celebrated in the changing rooms. That tells me there's something significant there. Even with Joe Linton and various other people, like he was still in the changing rooms. Like he was still supporting. I just think that for me, it was always going to be more serious than they let on, and it's proven to be the case. So it's a shame, real shame. We need him. We certainly need Isak back as soon as possible, because 9 to 12 weeks is basically cutting out the rest of the season for me. And that's a big thing. But look, I'm sure there'll be plenty more Callum Wilson talk as we go along, and there's lots more to discuss on various other things. But look, we'll come to Bournemouth. Bournemouth got the win last time. Vitality, you got the win 2-0. Could have been a lot more. That's for sure. You certainly deserved the 3 points. We weren't at it at that point in the season. You know, how would you assess your season so far, Morgan? Like, are you happy with how things are going? Are you disappointed? Where are you at with Bournemouth at this moment in time?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So it starts. So I was actually on holiday when O'Neill got relieved or got rid of or sacked or whatever you want to say at the day. And I was stunned. When I heard the WhatsApp come through, I was stunned because I was thinking, this is weird. This guy's kept us in this division. We came off after 9 defeat. He came back after a 9-0 defeat to Liverpool, which is, crucial enough under Scott Parker. He came in, he was given it to the World Cup break. He then carried it on, and he kept us up, and that was the objective. Bournemouth under O'Neill would stay in the league. Then, as time went on, we were promised it. He did very well under really Carlo last season in Spain, beating Barcelona and Real Madrid. I thought, is this a new project? Are we looking into the future? Is he? And then, as you were going into pre-season, you kind of saw a little bit, and then you thought, okay. And then we went into the league, and we were still not kind of clicking, but the players have said recently it takes a long time to get used to this high attacking football. It must take a lot out of players, and it's a bit like yourself. We're playing high press attacking, sexy rock and roll football, as you want to ask. He describes it, and then all of a sudden it just kind of clicked out of the middle of nowhere, and you could think, wow, going away December, we were very good. We beat Manchester United for the first time at Old Trafford 3-0, and we were getting results all over the place. We haven't won since Boxing Day, unfortunately. We should have won against West Ham. We just didn't finish our chances. Fulham at the weekend, we had a bad day at the office. I'm not going to read too much into that. I think this is the first time since Bournemouth have been in the Premiership that I can say that Bournemouth won't go down. Now, if I say that, and we do, I'll eat my words, but I feel that they're worse enough. I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but I think the likes of Sheffield United, Burnley, and also Forest and Everton with the points production, I think that's definitely, Bournemouth have definitely got enough. But Bournemouth can't take anything off the gas here. They still have got a lot to play for. They need to survive it, get to the 40. You won't need 40 points this season. I think it's going to be the lowest in a very long time. And we also got a great opportunity to get to a cup semi-final. If we beat Leicester, we'll have to go to get to the quarter and then a semi-final potentially. So Bournemouth have got a very good chance of even having a day out of Wembley. It might be more, but you never know in the FA Cup. Anything in football can happen. And also potentially finishing, halfway through, maybe even getting our best ever finish of 9th, maybe even 8th or a bit higher. So it's very exciting, but you've got to remember, when the manager comes in, it's going to take time. It's the first manager that Bournemouth have ever had that's out of Europe, and it's always going to be a project. And I think a lot of the players just needed to learn his identity and philosophy, which was a lot different to what we saw under Gary O'Neill last season.
No, it's been an interesting one observing Bournemouth. For me, you look at them. Like I said, Gary O'Neill did do a good job this season. Oh, that's not right. Let's get that off for a second. We're not there yet. But no, we'll look at the league table because the league table at this point in time has you 13th, and it wasn't too far away from where you were last season. at one point it did look like you were going to be pushing sort of like the mid-table, top half of the table. You did have a good run at some point, but it has sort of fell off recently. You can look at your running in the last sort of 5 games here, and there's a few losses in there. I don't think you've won in 4 games or so, and that's for you guys 4 or 5 games a big concern. Is it down to the question marks in your opinion around this man? Because he was a big figure for you last season. And he seemed to get a lot of plaudits for the work that he did. There's rumors that he wants to leave. He was, in fact, linked with Newcastle United. And we can maybe talk about this now, because not only was he linked, more recently, Lloyd Kelly, who has 6 months left on his contract or less than that, have been linked with Newcastle United. Do you think that transfer rumour has sort of got in Billing's head, or even Lloyd Kelly's head, and maybe affected your kind of potentness on the pitch and being able to get the results more recently?
I wouldn't say. I don't think you can blame two individual players. I think what I will say is Philip, the odd funny thing on his social, which is a bit. Sometimes you think, oh, is he still with it? Does he still want to be here? You could look into that with a bit, maybe find a toothbrush. He did look frustrated when he got sent off against Nottingham Forest. I think he came on. It was a hard game to get into. It was stop-starting. There were 33 fouls every 3 minutes. There was a foul. It was such a nightmare for both teams. You can't play football like that. And he came on, and all he needed to do was tug him back or hack him down. I don't like cynical. Obviously, no one likes a cynical foul, but sometimes you've got to do it. Take a yellow, move on, get behind the ball. He didn't. He went for the Achilles. You could see I don't think he's a malicious player. Like, I don't think he's a Joey Barton or anything like that. But he, in my opinion, and this is just from my point of view, I think he meant some intent. And I think it was meant to hit him on the Achilles, to leave a bit on him. And I think Rebecca Well, although she didn't have a great rest of a very good game at all, I think she got that spot on. At the time, I was thinking, no, that's no chance. But that's just the crowd natural reaction. When you go back and you watch it 3 or 4 times, he looked really frustrated. So I wouldn't be surprised. He has still got some time left on his contract, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is the way out. He doesn't really fit our system, I don't think, much. And you mentioned Lloyd Kelly as well. I think he will go on a free in the summer. I think because of SSP, I think people are waiting for the summer for him before he goes. I think he will. He's not signing a new contract at Bournemouth. It's quite clear in my mind he wants to go. And he goes with our best respect. You know, he's always given it for us. He can fit into left centre half or a left back. A lot of people probably are aware, and if he goes, he goes. But I just think at the moment clubs are being so careful on SSP and who they can, and you know, a lot of clubs are, if they can't get anyone out, they're not getting any in. So that's where you are with Philip Billing and Rory Kelly.
Before I get Chris's thoughts on those two, and in particular Philip Billing, but can you tell us a little bit about these players? Because for any Newcastle United fan that's watching the channel right now, and we've got 100 plus that are watching at this moment in time, like, can you tell us a little bit about like Philip Billing, for example? Because when he was initially linked, Morgan, with Newcastle United, there was a number of Newcastle fans that weren't really excited by it and thought that actually it wouldn't be a really good buy. But what type of midfielder is he? What does he offer when he's playing at his best for Bournemouth? What does he offer, and what are his strengths? And the same for Lloyd Kelly, really.
Yeah, so we'll go with Philip Billing first, if that's okay, and then I'll move on to Lloyd. So Philip Billing is he can play in the centre, like a holding midfielder, but that isn't his natural position. He played there under Gary O'Neill at times, and I think it frustrated the hell out of him. He's a 10. He's a 10 behind Dominic Solanke or whoever striker you've got in your side. He can link the play. He can score some very good goals from 30. He scored a cracker last season at Nottingham Forest away to win the game. And he's got a good record in terms of scoring. When he's in the mood and he's on his game, Philip Billing is one of the best footballers that Bournemouth have got. But he can get very frustrated. He can get quite. Sometimes you might think he's running around chasing a lost cause at times. So that's kind of him. But I don't want to be too negative because he has been great for us. And that's without him last season, I think we would have been in very, very trouble. I don't want to say that we would have gone down, but I think it would have been very much closer than it was. In terms of Lloyd, he's better at. I think a lot of Bournemouth fans admit that he's better at left centre half than he is at left back because he just doesn't bomb on and off of that. As a left back or a right back these days, you've got to be getting up and down the pitch, and Lloyd doesn't do that. But he's got a good pass on him. He can be quite good in possession. He is a leader. He isn't our captain anymore, but he was captain for the best part of the season under Gary O'Neill before Neto. And under Parker in the Championship, I believe. And he's a likable character. He's made something. He's grown up in care and it must have been quite hard for him. And I don't want to sound condescending when I say that, but I think to come out of that, he's a young player, and I think it's really nice to mention where some of these footballers have come from. You know, a lot of people might take everything for granted. I think he's had a tough upbringing, and I think he's come through it. And I think although he's not going to be the best centre half you ever see, he's a solid, and he does his best, and I think that's all you can have in a honest lad like Lloyd Kelly. So that's kind of my thoughts on where Lloyd and Philip Billing are.
Interesting. Good to get the perspective from a Bournemouth fan on both players. Firstly, Chris, Philip Billing. He's suspended. It doesn't look like he's going to be available for the game on Saturday. For you, big miss, a plus for Newcastle, but also obviously just your brief thoughts on him and his link with Newcastle United. Is he a player that you would take within the Newcastle squad?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think he would be a miss for Bournemouth. He strikes me as that kind of player who's, you know, he's big, he's bustly, puts himself about, and he's actually got a decent engine on him. I mean, Morgan, you may tell me I'm wrong there, but he seems to be, he
100%.
gets himself up and down. So I think he'd be a miss. In terms of us signing him, I think he would be a good squad player. Would I want to see Philip Billing starting week in, week out for Newcastle if we're aiming for top 4 on a regular basis? Probably not. However, that I'm not downplaying him or saying he's not a good player, because I do believe he is. Like he first caught my eye when he was at Huddersfield, and then obviously he got the move, and I like him. He's got a hell of a shot on him as well. Unfortunately, I think we don't see enough of that. Because I have saw him score some screamers, and you know, I think goals is probably something he could add to his game. But for the right price, I would definitely be interested in him, because I think he would be a good squad player, as I say. I mean, if you look now, Pete, you know, at our fringe or reserve centre midfielders, you know, we're talking about Jeff Hendrick, we're talking about Isaac Hayden. Is he an upgrade on them? Of course he is. And, you know, if you want to fight on 4 fronts, if you want to fight in 4 competitions, you need a good squad. And I think Philip Billing would be a good squad player. You know, if we've spoken briefly, haven't we, about, you know, possibly maybe this season, hopefully, you know, we might be looking at a Europa Conference or a Europa League spot. You know, if we had the difficult away fixture on a Wednesday or a Thursday night, would I be happy with Philip Billing being in the central midfield? Absolutely. If it meant that we could rest the likes of Sandro Tonali or Bruno Gomes, then yeah, absolutely. For me, it is a squad game, and it's all about, you know, rotating your squad and trying to prevent injuries. So yeah, if the price was right, I think you know, I think I would be interested. Out of interest, Morgan, how much do you think Bournemouth would command for Philip Billing?
Oh, I'm not a money man, but I reckon it's hard to put a price. It's really hard because he's not in great form. He's obviously just done something very stupid and got himself banned for 3 games. I reckon you're probably talking. I don't really know, but I reckon 10 million, 15 maybe at a push. I think that would be fair.
Funny you say that, because the 15 million was getting banded around. So the 15 million, and for me,
yeah,
this day and age,
I think that's a bargain for you guys. I really do. As you alluded to, you want to be knocking on full competition front. Can I ask, Chris, or in terms of your squad now? I know that you're stretched. I know we spoke about Wilson and the likes of it. Are there many? Are you back? I know you got long term of Pope, Joe Willock, I think, is quite far away still. Joe Linton's out for the season. Are you far enough? People like Elliot Anderson, Lewis Hall. Are there any more? Have you got much worse news, or are you back to pretty much where you can be for now?
Do you know what I think? And Pete, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think, Matty Target's still away, albeit I know he's not first team 11. No, mate. Yeah, he's not first team 11. Obviously Sandro Tonali got the gambling ban, so he's out for the season.
He's back in August, I believe, but he can train with your guys, can't he? He can be around the squad, I can believe, which was a bit of a difference because Tony wasn't allowed to be anywhere near Brentford's training ground. But having him around the place, I'm sure it's good for his confidence, keeping him fit, keeping him out of trouble. Probably, and it's good for the lads as well. He's quite experienced in Serie A, isn't he? So, no, that's good to hear. No, I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased to hear that it's not, obviously up until a couple of hours ago that you guys were getting, because I look at people like Harvey Barnes and I think he just offers something different to people like, if you need, because winners these days can't last 90 minutes, especially under attacking football like we see under Eddie Howe and Andoni Iraola. You look at Almiron or Jacob Murphy or Gordon when he's out there on the win. I know you've got Clem through the middle most of the time at the moment. It's just nice to see, because in some of your games that I've seen this season, you get into the 70, 75 minute mark, especially under like Man City, and you're just thinking, oh no, is it going to happen? And unfortunately, it just does. And that's football. But there's been so many times, and you put in so much energy for that amount of time, and then you just think, you've got kids on the bench and Matt Ritchie, and that's no disrespect, but you're thinking, what can we do here? Or Livramento for Dan Burnell. I mean, I follow you guys when Bournemouth are on. I watch as much as I can, and it's just really nice to see that your squad's starting to get back. I've got to admit, I'm a bit upset that Guimarães didn't pick up another yellow, because that would have been the third time that he hasn't played Bournemouth in over. Well, he didn't play both legs last season, if I got that right, because he was banned. But I do like him, I've got to admit. So no, hopefully, if not, and also you guys must have been dreading Anthony Gordon leaving in a boot after one of your games. So it's nice to see, because at the end of the day, the Premier League are competitive. You want to see the best players. You don't want to see loads of teams suffering with injuries. You want to see the best starting 11 for the neutral view as well. So it's really good to have some clarity. And I just wish you don't get any more injuries. Well, hopefully on Saturday, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate, definitely.
We definitely will. We will talk about Saturday and the teams in just a second. But look, there's a conversation that's going on at this moment in time, and look, it looks like we're about to lose our sort of sporting director, Dan Ashworth, to Man United, and actually. A person that's been linked with Newcastle United is someone linked to Bournemouth again, in Richard Hughes, someone that Eddie Howe knows well, someone that he's worked with before. From your knowledge of Bournemouth and being a fan, what is it that you know, or people around you that know about Richard Hughes, sort of as the technical director at Bournemouth? And the job that he's doing, that is he predominant in what he does there? Is he seen quite and rated quite highly there? But just what do you know about Richard Hughes?
So Richard Hughes, I like this. I know it might sound a bit cheesy to some people, but he played for Bournemouth in 1998 to 2002 before going out and then coming back. He's got 131 appearances in the first time he was with us in the 4-year period, and then he had another 2 years and got 26 appearances. He won an FA Cup with Portsmouth. I know that's kind of irrelevant, but it's something that he's done. He's a defensive midfielder. He was very good for Bournemouth, I believe. I can't remember it personally, probably a bit too young, but he's our technical director, as you alluded to, and he made some great signings. He made, he bought us Jefferson Lerma, 25 million quid, the best signing that Bournemouth have, the most expensive signing that Bournemouth have ever signed. Nathan Ake, who obviously went to Man City, but he was one of our best ever players, and it's kind of like the last bit of the era. Now, if I don't know about Neil Blake, the other guy in recruitment, but it's kind of the last bit of the Eddie jigsaw. We still got Adam Smith, who's the last part of the back four that we had for the year. But it's been a lot of change at AFC Bournemouth with Bill Foley, MK Jordan, and Richard Hughes. I wish him all the best. People move on in football, and Bournemouth have been lucky enough to have loads of people for years and decades, and now he needs a new challenge, and I'm sure he'll do great. And what I like is he's going to go and work with Eddie Howe. And with all due respect, that your owner are going to be able to. I know Bournemouth got Bill Foley now, and our income's a bit better, but you guys are obviously got a bit more wealth about you guys, and under your owners, and I think that Richard Hughes will work wonders for you. I think he'll recruit with Eddie. And they don't have to restart a relationship or go through a process. Richard will know as soon as he leaves Bournemouth, he'll have a couple of weeks in the sun or whatever, and then he'll be straight on the phone to Eddie, probably straight away, to be honest. They'll be texting him. But they might be talking behind closed doors now, who knows, about the targets for next season, because that's the type of guys they are. But I rate him very highly, and I'm sure he's a really nice, down-to-earth guy. I met him a couple of times. Really like him. Really good guy.
No, good to hear from a Bournemouth perspective on that. Look, I'm not going to get your thoughts just yet on the Dan Ashworth situation and all that, Chris. But look, there's been a lot of rumours around sort of Richard Hughes and his links to Newcastle United. For you, is that someone that you would like to see come to Newcastle United, or should Newcastle be looking sort of like higher tier? In the elite, what are your thoughts with everything that's kind of gone on in the last 24 hours, mate?
So just speaking purely about Richard Hughes for now, I think for me, and this is no disrespect to him, obviously I don't know much about him, so I'm not going to pretend to know much about him, but for me, I just think it's a very convenient link. I would be very surprised if we went for Richard Hughes purely because I think, Dan Ashworth, yes, we got him from Brighton, but obviously he had a very successful career with England as well. We built up that reputation mainly from, being there, working with England. And for me, I just think it's people putting two and two together. Obviously, I'm sure Eddie Howe is probably keen to work with Richard Hughes again, if he built up that strong relationship with him. But I believe that, the owners will, and I'm talking in the main about PIF here, not just the Rubens and obviously Amanda Staveley and Mehrdad Gadusi, but I think if we want to be competing at the very, very top level, then you go out and you get someone who's used to competing at the very, very top level. And as I say, that's not me playing down Richard Hughes in any way, because I don't know much about him, but I would expect us to be going for a director of football who's kind of got that pedigree, got that real big CV, I would say, to replace Dan Ashworth. And I think, I must admit, when the rumours first came about, it did kind of smack me as like a bit of a Mike Ashley move, in the sense that it's convenient. We all remember way back when, and to be fair, I can't remember if this was under Mike Ashley or not, actually. Mate, I don't think it was. Or was it? Was it when you know, when they said no? I think it was Freddie Fletcher. I think it was Freddie Fletcher, and you know, then they said no stone will be left unturned, and we're going to get a big manager in. We're going to make sure that, you know, we bring the right guy in, and I think we ended up with Glenn Moser. And as it turns out, Glenn Moser was, you know, he did really well for the club, and you know, obviously he's a legend at Newcastle. But it just kind of smacked me of that a little bit of, you know, but I think we're in a different era now. And I think that there will be a lot of names on the hit list. That obviously we talk about recruitment and we say that, you know, if a player leaves, you know, a number of players will be lined up already. I firmly believe that's the case with the staff as well. You know, if this person was to leave, who would we bring in? Probably the same case with Eddie Howe. There's probably a list of 3, 4, 5, maybe more managers who they go if Eddie Howe leaves. What? Sorry.
You might get the job. I reckon you got enough knowledge about it to get the job done if Eddie goes. So I'll put the bookies odds on you.
It's very kind of you, Morgan. Very kind of you. I'm not sure the fan base would agree.
Well, you know, we'll have to give it a go, won't we? But hopefully, as a neutral, you know, there's been talk about. I think we mentioned it earlier in the show and a bit off air that there's been a lot of scrutiny about, you know, before the Sunderland game, especially. You know, I know you turned them over and you made them look very poor, and they aren't a great side. But I think it's unfair to even you guys are a step already above what you should be achieving. Last season, you were phenomenal. And I think sometimes in football, you've got to take a reality and go, you know, Bournemouth were looking, for example, at maybe getting our passports renewed. Bournemouth going to Europe already? No, let's calm down a little bit. We're not quite there. You know, you can't be turning over United 3-0 away and then lose into, say, Fulham and, you know. But I think that you've got to look at it. You guys are doing very well. You had a very awful season with injuries. And people criticising Eddie Howe, is he not going to be in a job next year as Newcastle manager? It's bonkers. It's almost as bad as VAR and the blue card, which I don't want to even go into because that's a whole different conversation. But you've got to remember that this guy is a messiah in both of our football clubs and goes on to do good things. And people just need to be patient because he will turn it around. You guys still have the opportunity of winning the FA Cup if you get the right draw. And you still have the opportunity of getting into Europe. That might be the Conference League, it might be the Europa League. But you might be able to win that more than if you go into the Champions League again. With all disrespect, you're going to come crap. Although this time you did very well and you were unfortunate, you could come crashing out of that so soon. So you're in a good place. So people just need to calm it down. Bournemouth aren't going to Europe just yet. Eddie Howe ain't losing his job. Just keep it calm and everything will be all right.
Sound advice, mate. Sound advice.
Great way to look at things. Look, we're going to look to the match now, look in a little bit more detail, and start to look at fixtures and all the rest of it in terms of lineups, you name it. But of course, we always love some stats.
She say I'm Mr. Roll, smooth, just like a silk, soft and cuddly. Hug me up like a quilt, I'm a statistical lover. No take me fee, no filth with my sexual physique. Ya know me well built, oh me, oh my, well. Can't you tell I'm just like a turtle crawling out of my shell, gal? You captivate my body, put me under a spell with your sit on the fence perfume. I love your sweet smell, you're the only young girl who can ring my bell and I can't take rejection. So you tell me go to hell, I'm statastic. Tell me doomtastic, touch me in me back. She say I'm Mr. Romantic, call me statastic. She touch me in my back. She says I'm Doctor.
Yes. I like magic. He appears. But no one expected that tonight. No. There you go. No. Surprises all over the place. Our stat man, 00 Stato. Keith, how are you doing? Great to have you back on. What stats have we got for us this week?
Well, I'm recovering after that, to be honest, because I think the fans off in the chat, they'll not be happy seeing seeing that theme back, that's for sure, you know. Loaded's version of Do Love, that is, I've got to say.
It is, yes. Good man.
Got a few stats here, lots of, as well, stats on Newcastle's recent form and goals, etc. All-time record in this fixture, played 17 games. Not many, really, when you consider it. 1-7 draw. Newcastle they've drawn 5 and they've lost 5. Newcastle have scored more goals in this fixture, 26 goals compared to 21 for Bournemouth. They've also got a better defensive record with 5 clean sheets compared to 3 for Bournemouth. Eddie Howe, his record as manager in games against Bournemouth. Surprising, actually, he's managed 4 games. He's won 1, he's drawn 2, and he's lost 1. I think the one game might have happened when he was Burnley manager there, but the goalkeepers, Bournemouth's Norberto Neto, he's managed 5 clean sheets in 21 Premier League games this season, compared to Martin Dubravka's 2 clean sheets in 11 games for Newcastle. Moving on to players, Dominic Solanke, he's having his best Premier League season with Bournemouth. He's scored 15 goals in 27 games in all competitions. He also scored 2 goals against Newcastle earlier as well. In games he's played against, in 8 games he's played against Newcastle, he's scored 2 goals and has 1 goal score and assist. He's been directly involved in 15 Premier League goals this season with 13 goals and 2 assists. Away from home as well, he's been on good form. He's scored 8 times and assisted 5 goals as well in his past 16 appearances away from home in the league. So he's really coming on leaps and bounds, I think, this season, Dominic Solanke. Some general stats to round off. Having lost their first 2 Premier League home games against Bournemouth in the Premier League, Newcastle are unbeaten against Bournemouth at St James's Park. In the past 3, they've managed 2 wins and a draw. Bournemouth have scored at least once in 14 of their past 15 Premier League games, 26 goals in total. So they've really been on form. You think of them games against Man United away in December. They've failed to score in only one game at home as well, and that was against Liverpool as well. And away from home, they've scored in their past 8 games, 15 goals in total. So they are one to watch in a difficult opposition, and that's their best ever run in the top division as well. Newcastle, they've scored 51 Premier League goals in 24 matches this season, and that's the earliest that Newcastle have managed to do that in a top division as well, where they've hit over 50 goals, and that's going back to 1960-61 when they managed to do that after 23 games. In the last 9 seasons up to 21-22, so before the really phenomenal season they had last year, Newcastle didn't score over 50 goals in any of those seasons. So you talk about how far we've actually come, at least in an offensive sense, in terms of our midfield and attack. Eddie Howe, he's faced Bournemouth 3 times in the Premier League since leaving them, and he's winless, surprisingly, in those games as well, with 2 draws and 1 defeat, and only against Manchester City as he went further without winning a game, and that was that was 15 games that he managed against Manchester City before getting a win. Newcastle managers as well, they have only won just 1 of their past 13 Premier League games as well against teams they previously managed. So there's been 4 draws and 8 defeats for Newcastle managers against their old teams. The only win was a 3-0 win for Rafa Benitez against Chelsea back in 2018. And since the start of the season, Newcastle have conceded a goal on average every 43 minutes in the Premier League, with Martin Dubravka in goal at St James's Park. When it was Nick Pope as goalkeeper, they conceded a goal every 131 minutes at home in the Premier League. So that just shows you how much Newcastle are leaking goals. Certainly at St James's Park, I think they've leaked about 10 in 3 games since Christmas. So it is certainly a concern, that form at home. And that rounds off the stats.
Great stats as always, Keith. Brilliant stuff. Yeah, there is a concern. There's no doubt about it with regards to Newcastle United conceding goals. Not what we come to expect after last season being the best defensive team alongside Man City in the Premier League. It has been a massive drop-off, and it's something that we definitely need to action. But look, let's get to the starting lineups, guys. And Morgan, we'll come to you first. We've got the Bournemouth squad across the bottom. Yes. Who are you going for in terms of your starting 11, and talk us through where they're going to play and the system?
Okay, so we're starting goal. He's been, as Keith said, his defensive clean sheets haven't been great. He can't. A lot of Bournemouth fans can't say that he can't command his box, and I do agree he has got to do better at times. But he is our leader, he is our skipper, he is our captain. It's got to be Neto behind the goal. So he has to start there, Pete, if you don't mind. And then going into the defence, it will be
Neto.
Sorry, Neto, yeah, Neto,
Sorry.
number 1, Neto, yeah. And then so going from right to left, so it'd be Adam Smith at right back.
Okay.
Number 15.
Yeah.
It will be, and then it will be Marcus Senesi, and then it will be Sidian Zabani next to Marcus Senesi. And then it's interesting at left back because Kelly wasn't great against Fulham, but he was mustered in the return fixture at Dean Court. So we're going to go with Lloyd Kelly at left back. I think Kirker might come on because them two have been struggling to stay fit. But to start with, we'll go Lloyd Kelly. Into the midfield, I'll go Lewis Cook and Ryan Christie, who is a bunch. If any Newcastle fans don't know, I'm sure they do. He doesn't stop pressing. He won't give you a minute peak. So Newcastle can't. He plays with Cook in the kind of holding.
Both the same in that position.
Yeah, he play. They don't. Yeah, but they drive on. Cook probably stays, but Christie will get forward to help out. And then into the 10, it's a very hard decision, but I'm going to go Justin Kluivert. He hasn't played recently, but I think he'll come back in for this one because again he was very good at when we were on our good form. He was very good for us. Now it gets harder in terms of the winners. It's very interesting because I was pretty set on my until earlier today, and then I thought, my concern is Kieran Trippier down that right hand side. So I'm going to go Semenyo on the right, and then I'm gonna go. It's between Luis Sinisterra and Marcus Tavernier, but I'm gonna go Tavernier because I think he's gonna help. I just think that he will be better. And then through the middle, our main man, we spoke about him, ban informed Dominic Solanke, and I think that gets us up to a 14, doesn't it? Yeah. Are we there? I think that's everyone.
Yeah, it does. Interesting. You've gone for Tavernier rather than Sinisterra. Sinisterra's a talented player, and he's proven it as well. Any particular reason why you've gone for Tavernier over Sinisterra? I'd be interested to know.
Because Bournemouth haven't been in great form, it's hard to pick a chosen 11. It really is difficult. You can make, Kluivert. You can make a case for Alex Scott. Semenyo, you could take him out. You could bring, you could move Tavernier over to the right and bring Luis Sinisterra in. But to answer your question, Pete, I would just say that I just think he's a little bit better offensively than maybe Sinisterra. And I think Dan, that if you've got Harvey Barnes will be targeting that area, won't he, with Dan Burn? I think that could catch Bournemouth in problems. So that's why I've gone for that. But you could make it, there's so many different things you could do with this team. And as I say, because we're not in the best form at the moment, it's really difficult to you can make a case for quite a lot of players. We're rotating quite often, as a lot of teams do. So we haven't got a really fixed 11 yet. But no, that's what I'll say.
Okay, no, great to have your 11 on the board. That's for sure. Chris, I'll come to you. What you're going for this week a little bit more difficult now. Now we're getting a few players back, fella. What's the thinking this time? Oh, I think you're on mute. I think you might be on mute.
Yeah, apologies. Sorry, I was. Yeah, I agree. A little bit more difficult this week, and I'm not going to lie, Pete, and I think it was you that put it in my head, and because we know Eddie likes to tell a little porky pie or two. I can't get Alexander Isak out my head.
Ooh.
Can't get him out my head. I just can't. And I don't know whether
Nothing's been said in this press conference, or is that tomorrow? Sorry,
it's
just to
tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning.
Okay, apologies.
I just think I don't know. I mean, when Isak obviously went down, and we've seen him do that quite a lot this season. You know, he went down, and I do wonder whether it was just precautionary. And you know, I just wonder whether he's just kind of been wrapped in cotton wool. And obviously, Callum Wilson came back, and maybe I'm just thinking the backroom staff were a bit like, do you know what? Let's just. Because I wonder whether, you know, could he have made the bench against Forest? I don't know. And I'm just thinking, like, you know, I don't know. Do you know what? Maybe it's just a nag, and maybe you know, maybe he will shock us. But I'll go with what I think as of right now. And also, by the way, I've got Willock on my mind, and also Elliot Anderson. But
they're all back.
I know. I just wonder.
I
whether
gave
we're
you
just
false
playing
hope,
it
didn't I, when
cautious.
I mentioned them earlier in the show?
Yeah.
No, you gave us all the hope, Morgan. You gave us all the hope. Okay.
Yeah.
No, you got plenty. You got enough hope.
Yeah. But you know what? I'll go with what I think it'll be. Keith, you know, if Keith wants to change what I've put, obviously feel free, and yourself, Pete, you know, but I'll go with what I know. So I think it'll be Martin Dubravka in goal.
Yeah.
Nick Pope, we know, is still 4 to 6 weeks away from being back. So obviously
That's not too bad,
that's an easy one. Yeah, Dubravka's okay. And he's been playing well, to be fair, Morgan. He has been doing well recently.
Yeah, no, I thought he was phenomenal. He played Liverpool, and I thought he kept you. I know it wasn't a great result, but he kept your score down. It could have been 5 or 6 if it wasn't for him. So I've been really impressed. No, I totally agree, and it's good news to hear about Nick Pope as well. He should be fitter for the last bit of the season, then hopefully, and maybe a day out at Wembley. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows, mate?
Yeah,
Fingers crossed.
I like that.
Fingers crossed.
We'll play you at Wembley. We'll play you at Wembley in the cup final. It'll be fine. Andoni versus Eddie Howe again.
That'd be a dream. That would be.
Yeah, it'd be great.
It would. Yeah,
imagine
that. So my back four is pretty standard. I think it's going to be Dan Burn playing left back.
Okay. Oh,
I think it will be Kieran Trippier playing right back.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be Sven Botman on the left and Fabian Schär on the right.
Lovely.
In the holding... forgot about it.
Oh, no.
Hang on. Ooh. Do you know what? I'm going to shake it up. I'm going to shake it up. I am. Right. Okay. No. Do you know what? No. I'm going to go 4-3-3, but I do expect in-game changes, because I think Eddie Howe, especially at home, I think he will go with tried and tested. But it wouldn't surprise me in-game if we just switched, because I think Eddie Howe probably won't want to give anything away. But I think we will manipulate that as the game goes on. So I think we'll start 4-3-3. So I'll stick with me 4-3-3. I think Bruno in the holding position.
Okay.
I think Louis Miley on the left, Sean Longstaff on the right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that I've got many options based on what I've just said, but yeah, I will go with Harvey Barnes on the left.
Ooh. Barnes with a start. I like it.
I think Barnes starts, and the reason for that is because I think Anthony Gordon will be through the middle.
Okay.
So whether or not we go Miggy or Murphy, I actually think we might go Murphy. I think we might go Murphy.
Okay.
And then Miggy to come on. Yeah, I think that's what I'd go with. You know, there's a few caveats to that. Obviously, Alexander Isak, there's a question mark. Jacob, sorry if I'm saying Jacob Murphy's question mark. I've put him in the team, but Elliot Anderson. Yeah, it's nice. It is nice to have these options on. It's nice to have these options. And Joe Willock, we've seen Joe Willock in these training photos. I think he was actually training with Matty Targett in the last photo we saw. So he can't be far away. He can't be far away. But will he be fit? I think at best he would be on the bench. But Keith, what do you reckon on that, mate?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. It's certainly good news. Certainly, or good things coming out that they're not far away. But I still, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think even if he was to figure in Saturday's game, it will more likely be on the bench. You're like maybe looking at the last 5-10 minutes, just giving him a run out. Really, if the game is won or from that position, really, I don't think he's going to be introduced. Or certainly not starting. I don't think he's going to be introduced early in the second half as well. It's going to be one of those. It's been quite a long injury after a previous long injury, so when he does figure, it's going to be phased in. In terms of the side, yeah, I pretty much go with that. I think, I would prefer at the minute, because his form's in that position has been a little bit off, I would be more inclined to go with Livramento, but I totally understand that it's probably what Howe's going to go with, isn't it, in terms of Dan Burn? He's putting his faith in Dan Burn for sure, and he's supporting him. So, yeah, I'll go with that. Your middle of the field as well, your Bruno and your Lewis and your Sean Longstaff wouldn't disagree with any of that. And yeah, and we're sort of forced into the position really where we've got to try something, and it's certainly in attack. Gordon's been one of your best outlets after your two strikers for goals. So you've got to, if you're not going to promote one of your players from the academy, then you've got to go with Gordon, I would think. We're fortunate Barnes has come back and he's got an eye for a goal as well. And it's an interesting one, certainly. Murphy's come back and I think he's done okay. So if there's going to be one question mark that I'm unsure of, it's going to be either that position there with Murphy and Almiron.
Yeah. No, I think it's a fair point. For me, I think Miggy starts ahead of Murphy just because of the calf injury. He wasn't able to come on as sub, and I just think Miggy the guy's always fit. He's always fit, and I think they're going to be wanting to be really careful. And I think the Callum Wilson injury is going to compound everything. In that, if we want Gordon to be our main striker, we need him to be our main striker, or certainly a second choice striker, we need all of our wingers fit. And at the moment, we have all of our wingers fit. We've got Gordon, Barnes, Murphy, Miggy, all fit and ready to play. Well, we fingers crossed hope for Murphy. And so I don't think with Wilson being injured, they're going to want to take a chance on Murphy. So I think with that, Miggy will probably start. But Murphy, I believe, will be in the squad personally. I think he'll play a part. The only difference maybe I would change is Bruno. If Bruno's doing the job in here, why change it? And we talked about it on our Loaded Reaction show in that, Bruno's on his 9 yellow cards, and actually playing him further forward here puts less strain on him having to do his defensive job where he's likely to get a yellow card in this area here. So playing him further forward almost brings in either Miley to do a job and you play it kind of like that, or do you switch around the starting positions in Bruno is in this position and you kind of make it a Miley and a Longstaff as a 2, and you literally match them up. Yeah, and what you're doing, you're matching up Bournemouth there in terms of your lineup, Morgan, and you're creating an opportunity
Bruno,
there to match it up.
Yeah, just to add in there, Pete, I think Bruno Guimaraes, he scored. Was it in your last game against
Forest?
Forest that he scored them. Am I right in thinking he scored 2? Have I got that spot on? Yeah, he won you the game, and he scored 2 crackers. I think he's more of a threat going forward in this game. I think you can trust Lewis Miley and Sean Longstaff to do as a double pivot ahead with Solanke and Clyde around that area, and then you've got Sharon, Botman, and your 2 wing backs or full-backs even. And then I think Gurima with Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon, and Jacob Murphy or Miggy or whatever you do. I think that's really threatening in final third. I think Bruno Guimaraes needs to be playing higher up in this game.
Like I say, it could go either way. Now, the one thing that we haven't considered is what happened against Forest, where we did this. Is that we brought Trippier into midfield, and we brought him in alongside the likes of Longstaff and Miley, and he came into midfield. And here, we talked about it. We see what the likes of Trent does, Stones, and Carl Walker, and various other players, where you bring you right back into midfield. And we saw that against Forest, and it really kept us solid with possession, and we did dominate the play. Are we going to see this again? I don't know. Personally, I don't know. We may well not see it, but it could well be an option where we see Trippier just jump into midfield there and maybe ask a few more questions of Bournemouth. I'm intrigued to find out, to see what's likely to happen. But we'll go with this because it is the tried and tested. It is a tried and tested. It's what we expect to happen. But it is, for me, it's going to be interesting to see what Eddie Howe is going to do. We've got more players back, which is great, brilliant. So we don't know who's going to start for a change. Equally, with that little change in tactic with Trippier going into midfield, is it going to change the personnel? And as well, like we talked about, the Bruno situation. It's going to be really, really interesting. But just very quickly, before we come out of the tactics and go to some questions before predictions, Morgan, where are your big strengths in terms of where do you think Bournemouth are going to hurt Newcastle United?
Well, firstly, can I ask you to do me a favour? Can you move Sabani and Senesi around? Because I got that into the centre half. They need to be changed around. I got that completely. Yeah. I'm not a Tom Jordan in terms of that knowledge. So, no, I got that a little bit wrong. So I apologise for that. I want to make sure I've got to get it spot on. In terms of as you alluded to, in terms of the question, Marcus Senesi, who I just actually mentioned, iconically enough, I think he's got 3 or 4 away goals from corner. I know you've got Botman and Cher that are mustard and sensational, and I haven't got enough word for them as a partnership. I think they're one of the best in the league. But watch out for Marcus Senesi from the corner, because he will leap and he will score a goal and punish you if you're not careful. So be on that. And then the other, Dominic Solanke, again, I mentioned, it comes back to another point. I think I should keep mentioning the same thing if I'm honest. No, I'm joking. Botman and Cher need to get so tight to Dominic Solanke. Give him a yard and he will finish. And watch out, because he has got a few little back heel, cheeky little Cruyff turn finishes into the near post. So that's a way that Bournemouth could hurt you. But in all honesty, we can hurt you. But I think you guys have got so many ways of hurting us as well. It's a very even playing field at this stage.
Definitely, it's going to be really interesting. Really interesting to see. Well, we know the likes of Gordon, Harvey Barnes, Bruno if he plays further forward, but even Longstaff in the last game, lads, against Luton scored 2 goals. So we have got that potency, and let's not forget, we've got our right back that is the top assister in the Premier League with 10 assists this season. Kieran Trippier does create havoc, set pieces, or in play with his ball into the box. So let's wait and see on that with regards to the tactics system. It should be an interesting one. It really, really should. And let's see how it all. We always do. We always like to see what the lineups are to see whether we were right in that situation or whether it sets up the way in which we do. So let's have a look at that and see how it unfolds. That's for sure. But Chris, anything on the questions before we get to predictions, mate?
Yeah, let's hit some questions. So Tom Dixon asks you, Morgan, it's an interesting question. Do you rate Solanke just because he was linked with us, as you know, in the January transfer window?
No, not at all. I will admit it. I did call him hideous and horrendous a few seasons back. So sorry, Dominic, if you're watching. But no, I think I rate him. He's our best. He's our main man. He in form. He's going for the golden boot. I think he's not many behind. I think he's got 4. How many did you say earlier, Keith?
15 goals
15
in all competitions and 13.
Thank you for that. You've got a lot more stats than I know on the top of my memory tonight. But no, he's. I thought they were top draw, by the way, just to let you know. And I think that Dominic Solanke, just because he linked you guys in January, doesn't mean that's what changes my mind. He's our main man. He's our goal threat. He gives everything, and he works his nuts off for his team. So definitely not on that one.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough, mate. Out of interest, Morgan, do you think Dominic Solanke is a top 4, top 6 striker in your opinion?
I think I think he could be, but I think you can't be looking at that until he's getting caught another cap. He's only been never called up to England once, until he's knocking on the door for that, which I think he's close. I think he's got to continue that. If he gets into an England camp and maybe hit the Euros at a push. I don't, you've got the main man, Harry Kane, then you've got Ollie Watkins. I don't think he's ahead of them if I'm being just unbiased and completely and utterly fair as a neutral. But maybe one day, but at the moment, I think he's just got to stay scoring the goals. He's got to be getting 20 each season. This time next season, he could have an absolute blinder and, not even get 10 goals. So you've got to be consistent. You've got to be doing it years and, that's to answer that. So, yeah, no.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair, mate. I think that's fair. Brian Quinn asked an interesting question, and it doesn't relate purely to the 3 players who we've been linked with from Bournemouth. I'd like to know, in your opinion, who would you least like to leave Bournemouth? Brian asks, which of the players would you least like Newcastle to buy? Now, obviously, we've been linked with Lloyd Kelly. We've been linked with Philip Billing. We've been linked with Dominic Solanke. Or is there another player who you think, you know what, I wouldn't want to lose him?
David Brooks. He's just gone on, and he's my favourite player at AFC Bournemouth. I'm first to admit that, but he's gone out on loan to Southampton to get some game time, and I think that's really crucial. Obviously, you guys know what happened with a cancer diagnosis, and he came back very quickly, and he's done very well at a young age to get over that psychological, physical, every attribution you can imagine, I'm sure. And they missed with Sheffield United. He wouldn't have ever come to Bournemouth, I don't believe, because he missed with gland fever. I think I got that, if I got that pronunciation spot on, that in his last year at Sheffield United. So he missed a hell of a lot of football. But I reckon if he tears it up in the last few months of the Championship, he'll come back to Bournemouth like a new player. I think he just needs the game time. It was so frustrating. We let him go before he played. He's had minutes off the bench and he's done all right, and people been put pressure on him, but he came off he started against and captained us against Swansea, and yes, okay, it was Swansea City in a cup match, but he set up 2 assists and he was magnificent, and it was just such a shame that was his last, because he was brilliant, and that's what Bournemouth fans were saying. He's been given an opportunity and he's taken his chance, and then unfortunately that was his last performance where he went out on loan. So I'm hoping, even though he might not fit Andoni's system, I reckon next season, if he comes back and he stays sharp, he gets 90 minutes under his belt eventually, or 70, and builds up his game time, I don't want to lose him. I think he's still bloody great, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that's fair, mate. Yeah, David Brooks, he was looking like an absolute star for Bournemouth, wasn't he? Until obviously, the terrible news. But fantastic that he's, hit that comeback trail. And you know what? On reflection, and I'm sure you'll probably feel this in the summer, when he comes back, I think it's probably a really good move for him to go to a club like Southampton, who are absolutely flying at the moment. So for him to get his confidence back, play at a lower league club, it could do wonders for him. And,
he hasn't had, and also he hasn't. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And just to add, he hasn't had to move house or anything. Do you know what I mean? He only has to travel an extra 20 minutes to get to training and matches and stuff. And I think that's really important. He's had a lot of change with everything. He's got his missus back in Bournemouth, and he doesn't have to move his family about. And I think that's sometimes another hard bit as being a footballer. You've got to move your family. I was watching the David Beckham documentary on Netflix, and just to touch on that, I hadn't. The amount of, it must be so hard to move your family up and changing countries up and down. So I think for David Brooks to stay settled in Bournemouth, go and play some football, do what you're going to do, and then we can have a sensible discussion. He's 26 years old. I'm not going to stop him. He's been immense for Bournemouth. It might be time to say, like a bit like you guys are saying with Callum Wilson, he's had, I know it's a different situation, but you had your injury, he's had his illness, he's had his scan fever. Now it's time to go and play. He might need to find a new team. I hope he doesn't, but sometimes in football, you want to be playing football, and he's a young lad and he's missed so much football already, so he's got to go and play football. And if he comes back, I'm glad he hasn't got an option to buy there, because obviously we don't want to give them. And then he can come back, either tear it up with us next year or move forward with his career. And I wish, but he's going to be knocking on the door for the Euro squad for Wales, so it's really important for him.
Yeah, just as long as he doesn't take Ryan Fraser's spot in the team, because we need a transfer fee from him in the summer. That's all. I was a bit upset when I was watching the Bristol game the other day, and someone called Ryan Fraser came on, and David Brooks went off. Really upset me. Now I'm sure I'll get over it, but no, I won't say too much more about that, because that could start a bit of spark. And I think we'll leave that on where it is. Thank you. It nobody does for Tom. It nobody sets him off. So but we're not.
I'll keep it measured. We're not part of. Are we over the watershed now? But we'll keep it measured for now.
Yeah. Our very own Daz Shocks. Evening, Daz. Hope you're good, mate.
Hi, mate. You're right.
Question for Captain Morgan. So you got a nickname now, Morgan.
Captain Morgan. I like that. Thank you. I'll come back.
Yeah. Question for Captain Morgan. Do you get sick of the constant links of Newcastle for Bournemouth players and staff? I know I do. That's what Daz says. Is that the case for you, Morgan?
I get sick of quite a few things. Firstly, it's VAR. No, I'm joking. No, in terms of there's rumours in anything. Do you know what? You don't have to believe it every time it goes on Twitter. I think there are a few journalists that Bournemouth fans. I'm sure it's the same for you guys. Do you have your chosen? Is it Keith Downey still? Have I got that right? Is he one of your most? Is he quite accurate? We got Mark McAdam. I don't know if you heard of him, and Rohini Salu and Chris Temple. So there are a few that we trust. If I don't hear it from a good source, you kind of think this is just because every single window, there's players up and down the country in every single league, and am I going here? Am I going there? There's so much stuff behind the scenes that's got to be agreed, and a lot of it is just crap most of the time. So no, I don't get sick of it, because I don't read too much into it until I see it from a local person that I trust. I don't really try to think about it, because otherwise you just get a bit of a headache, like when you're waiting an hour for a goal to be checked, or get a penalty.
I've got 3 more questions for you, Morgan.
Not a problem at all. I'm really enjoying it. Thank you.
Yeah, the first one I want to ask you kind of relates to what we've just been talking about, actually. Where do you think Bournemouth will strengthen in the summer?
They're going to sign me on loan. No, I'm joking. They need to get a left. They need to get another left back. I think with Kelly going and Milos Kirker, he's mustard. He's only 19 years old. He will progress, but he has quite a few mistakes in him still. He's a young lad. You can't rely on him for a season against people like Mo Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, etc. I could go on. So we need a left back. Depending on the loan for our new striker, which I can't pronounce, so please forgive me. It depends on him. I think we do need a better I've seen him. He's had a couple of nights. It's too early to tell. I can't judge him away at Fulham when we're losing 3-1 or 2-1 at the time, I think it was. But I do think we need another striker to keep Dominic Solanke on pole, because when you don't have competition, as you can imagine with some of your injuries and stuff, it makes people get a little bit, they can take their foot off the gas. I think we need another goalkeeper. Can I be totally honest? I think Neto's been great, but I think he's getting older, and he's always been. It's really interesting. Tom made this point. Who's been on your channel before? He's always been. He's always done this. He's had good spells, and as a goalkeeper, you've got to command your box. He's so shaky at times. I got a tremor in both of my hands, and I tell you what, I think I could do a better job at catching the ball at times, because it really concerns me how he sticks to his goal line like a bit of a lemon. And that's not to sound disrespectful, but as goalkeeper, I want you to go keeper and putting your arms on that ball and commanding it in, especially against teams that will attack the box. So yeah, so a left back, another striker for Solanke if he goes, or definitely if he goes, but and then a goalkeeper for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair, mate. Yeah, I can see why you're certainly looking to replace Neto. I mean, sometimes he looks decent, and obviously he's come from Barcelona.
He's a good shot
hasn't he?
stopper.
Yeah,
he's a good shot stopper, and I don't want to be too harsh on the guy because he only lost his mother, which obviously psychologically I think done him, and he is our captain. So I think the only good thing about him, he speaks so many languages across the back four for Marcus Zanetti, and it got when Travis let in 9 at Anfield, which wasn't all his fault, and Neto came into the side. That could be a factor why maybe Neto is a little bit upset in terms of obviously losing his mother psychologically. But I think in general, I think as a guy, you kind of, I don't mean to be rude, but it's like David Brooks. He's had his illness and now you can't keep making excuses when they've been dealt. Do you know what I mean? You've got to kind of get to you're a professional footballer. You've got to kind of move on. I know it's hard, but you've got to have a goalkeeper that can command his area.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. I agree. Okay, so penultimate question. Do you rate Iraola as your manager? What can you tell us about him? Has he come in and done a really good job for you, or are you still thinking that he's maybe not the man to take you forward? What are your thoughts on him?
No, I want Gary O'Neill back. No, I'm joking. Although he's higher up the table than we. No, I like Gary O'Neill, but no, he's mustard. He comes in, he's bravo, he says, and he drinks the Stella and he eats paella. It's our chart for him. And he's a really. I like him in the media. I really like him in the media. It's just something about him. He's a bubbly character. He's never naive. Some of these managers, they don't give a lot away. He's quite honest. I'm sure to a degree that he's not always going to give certain information away because he's not allowed. That's what, you've got to do as a manager at times. You're told not to. It's a bit of a tell a porky pie. You alluded to it earlier about Eddie, or is he going to be? Do you know what I mean? But no, just to summarise what I said, I think he definitely got... He's so exciting, and do you know what? He's never gonna. I can't compare him to Eddie Howe because he's never going to be Eddie Howe. He's never going to take us from League Two all the way to the Premiership. But what I will say, I think he could get us some kind of European football in the next 2 or 3 seasons, and that's exciting. If I'm renewing my passport, which is already okay until 2028. I think it could be exciting. I think even Europa Conference League. It's not the best competition. We only won the Betway Cup. So are we, to think of playing in Europe, it's just a dream, and just to go and tick off a few grounds, get a few results, and then who knows, it happened for West Ham. I know they're not in great form in the league, but anything in football can happen. And as Bournemouth say, anything together is possible. Yeah,
that's fair, mate. That's fair. This was going to be your final question, but I'm going to change it. There's a little bit of jest in me asking you that question because I think I already know the answer to that question.
Yeah. I'll answer it. Can I be honest? Do you want me to answer it?
Yeah, go for it, mate. Go for it.
It would be definitely 100% no. No, and the only reason that is because he did the way that he behaved. I think that's the right way to go about things. You're a professional footballer. If Lloyd Kelly wants to go at the end of the season, I wish him all the best because he's not being naive. He's not coming out and saying I don't want to play for you anymore. And as you guys know, his attitude at times stinks because Eddie Howe obviously knew him from his time at Bournemouth, and he sent him down to train with your 23s, didn't he? Yeah, didn't they have a bit of a misunderstanding? I don't know if you could share a bit more light. But he's obviously got a few issues. I don't want to be rude, but he's got to know when you're a professional, you have to deal with things. You've got to be disciplined. You've got to be working with your teammates. And sometimes you can't be the big I am. And that's all I can say. I'm not going to say too much more because I think that's a neutral, fair answer. But I don't have anything personally against him. I don't like what he did, but as a person, he's a human being. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to start calling him names under the sun because that's not what I'm about. So,
yeah, no, it's fair enough, mate. And you're right in what you say. He's a professional footballer, and maybe he didn't act as professional as maybe he should have. And I think your assessment's very fair. And yeah, to kind of briefly answer your question about us shedding any light on what happened with Eddie Howe, I'll be honest. Eddie Howe, the ultimate professional, didn't disclose anything. He just said that he only wanted players in the squad who were fully committed to Newcastle United, and that's how he left it. So
that's Eddie Howe all over, though, ain't it?
Eddie,
and do you know what? I just wanted to mention this, if you don't mind, about when Eddie talks, he doesn't make excuses. No. I've been really impressed with watching his press conferences this season. He's not making. You guys are so stretched. You're hardly getting training. You're getting hardly any travel time. At times, it's such a hectic schedule, and he's never going, well, we haven't got him. He's not doing a Jurgen Klopp. He's not going to Pep Guardiola, throwing his boys out the pram. He's getting on with it, and it's so accountable. And we knew that as Bournemouth fans, but I think from your perspective, to have a guy like Eddie Howe, and even if you alluded to with Ryan Fraser, we don't need to. You guys don't need to know what's happened because it's not important. But what's important is it's ticking on the pitch, and Eddie will, if something's not working, Eddie wants a tight bond around the place. He was always taking Bournemouth lads down when we won pre-season tours. I'm getting a bit carried away now, but he was they were doing water races, he was doing sandcasting. It sounds cheesy, but it's creating a togetherness, and again, anything together is possible. But yeah.
No, I think he's spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on. Yeah. And the final question, and arguably the most important question, Morgan, where do you expect Bournemouth to finish in the league this season?
We're going to win the league. No, I'm joking. We're going to, being realistic, if we can get to the best ever, if we can improve on 9th with the best ever points tally that we ever had in the Premiership, I'll be happy. Because you can't get better than that, can you? It's always a project in football, and maybe a day out at Wembley in the semi-final or the final. But who knows? I wouldn't mind playing you guys. But what would be interesting is if we ended up facing Wolves against Gary O'Neill. That would be very weird, wouldn't it? But it's exciting time, and I totally. But this is the most confident, as I said throughout the show. Bournemouth aren't going down the season, and that's just so nice to know. Normally it's about staying up, but I'm excited. Even though we had a dip in form, every team has it. We've got Tyler Adams coming back. We could finish 8th, potentially. Who knows? It's all to play for, but we need to pick up points.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just before I round up the questions, just to add, Geordie's Team for Life.
Thank you.
Morgan is such a knowledgeable and sensible lad. It's a pleasure having him on the show. So I just wanted to add that in there as well, Morgan. But no, that rounds up the questions.
Thank you.
Brilliant stuff. Great to see so many positive comments in the chat. Story Moss has said as well. It settled in nicely during the show. It always happens when you're new to the channel and you're coming in for the first time, but absolutely spot on, Morgan. That's for sure. It's great to have you. Look, we're going to round up and we're going to go to our predictions for Saturday's game. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the Newcastle 2-1 win. I think we'll get 3 points. We need the 3 points. It's as simple as that. And however we get them, any means necessary for me. 2-1 win for Newcastle United. But Chris, what are you going for this week?
I am going to go. I think we both predicted this last time. Actually, Pete, I'm going to go with a 2-0. I really want that clean sheet, and I think back at St James's Park, I think we can keep a clean sheet. Obviously, it was disappointing to concede 4 at home to Luton, and also not only that, it was disappointing to concede 2 away to Forest as well. But yeah, I think I fancy a clean sheet this week, so I think 2-0 Newcastle.
Very good. Morgan, we're going to come to you as the Bournemouth fan. What are you thinking come Saturday?
It's going to be a very good game of football. I think both teams are going to attack it. I'm going to go for a 4-goal thriller. I'm going to go 2 to Newcastle, 2 to Bournemouth. I think it's going to be an exciting game. I don't think either team can do it on the day. It depends who wants it more. but I think you guys are shipping quite a few goals at the moment still. But attackingly, you're great. I think Bournemouth will score a couple of goals, but I think also we could concede 2 defensively. So I'm going to go 2. I think that's fair.
Oh, Desmond Tutu, gone for it. And of course, we're not going to finish predictions without coming to the main man, Mr. Double O Stato. Keith Roll, what are your predictions this week?
I think there's some really good points that have been made there about Newcastle, particularly at home. I touched on in the stats about how many goals have been conceded as well. So it's a bit worrying for me that Newcastle kind of get through a half without conceding 43 minutes, every goal conceded. So for me, it's, as I said, there's going to be lots of goals in this fixture. I think it's good that Newcastle are getting goals from other areas of the park. They need those goals. Bournemouth are also getting loads of goals as well. And I think this score for this game will also be a Desmond. Because 2-2 is the new 1-1.
He's gone for the Desmond. No way. Okay, so we've got 2-2 draws. We've got a 2-1 win and a 2-0 win. Look, there are predictions, people. Put your predictions in the chat as we wrap things up. It should be an interesting one, that is for sure. Lots of different opinions with regards to the scoreline, but of course, on the way out, we have to massively thank our sponsors, radiatorshed.com. Massive thanks to Russ and the team for all their support. And of course, the aluminium rads are very environmentally friendly and are perfect for heat source pumps. They offer a home survey service and will install if required. So make sure you get down to the radiatorshed.com and check out their fantastic radiators. And here's a selection of different colors, and here they are in full color. There we go. The H2O Bathroom Design Co. Make sure you go and support our other sponsors too. The Northeast largest suppliers of Villeroy and Box Bathroom, Team Valley Gateshead, over 20 years established and run by the family. So make sure you get down to the showroom on 11th Avenue, Team Valley Gateshead, and show your support for our fantastic sponsor. Some of the old pictures, some of the new ones on the other side, but here you can see the quality is there, that's for sure. Go support our friends, the Geordie Journos, Liam, and make sure you go support Jordan. Scan the QR code for Newcastle World and support them on their NUFC newsletter. And of course, we don't promote it all the time. We should, but become a member, become a loaded ultra. Click that blue button just there. Do it on the laptop, not on a phone, and you can make sure you become a loaded ultra for $1.99 a month. We've had lots of new members, lots of new renewals as well recently. So come and become a loaded ultra and support our channel. Massive thanks to everyone in the chat. Great support as always. And thank you so much for all your comments, questions, and sticking with us for the whole show. Thank you so much to everybody. Your comments and support is massively appreciated. Of course, we can't go without saying a massive thanks also to Morgan at Back of the Net podcast. Massive thanks for your support. Where can we find you on socials, and where can we find Back of the Net as well?
Yeah, so myself is it says down below, Morgan Scott UK on X or Twitter, it's previously known, and then AFCB podcast on YouTube. They do lots of different shows, Premier League. You might want to check it out ahead after full time. There'll be a match fan cam, so Bournemouth fan reacting straight after full time. Then there'll be a match day vlog the following day, which is always a great watch. Sam does a really good job with that, and then you'll get a away day review show as well. So that's a tier board, and we'll rank in your food and your drinks and your transport and your pub and all that kind of thing, and the match day experience. And then you go into a tier list and see where you rank compared to other Premier League clubs. So you've got a lot of Newcastle and Bournemouth content. And there's also a weekly Premier League show when there's time when it's not so hectic, talking about the Premiership and maybe the odd VAR decision and stuff like that. So it's a really good channel, and go and hit it out. So yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's been really welcome. Thanks to Chris, thanks to you, Pete, thanks Keith, and thanks for the comments as well. I really appreciate them. Thank you so much.
Brilliant stuff. And of course, massive thanks to Double O Stato. Back again, some brilliant stats. Thank you so much for coming and joining us, mate. Please stay on after the show finishes, because myself and Chris just want to have a quick chat with you just before you go, Keith. So massive thanks to you as well. There we go. The big match preview is wrapped up and ready to go. All it means is we just need Newcastle United to get the 3 points, but let's wait and see. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again very, very soon. Of course, we do love playing away. Chris, take us home a little bit differently this time.
I don't know what to say. Will we see this man at the weekend?
Ooh.
I hope we do.
Let's wait and see. Take care, everyone.